For so many of us, just hearing the words bone density scan can bring on this little wave of anxiety, right? We're told it's the final word, the ultimate test for our bone health. But what if it's not the whole story? What if there's a much better way to see what's really going on with your bone strength, and it doesn't involve a single bit of radiation? Well, let's dive into that.
All right, so here's what we're going to cover. First, we'll look at the old standard, the DXA scan, and why it's not always what it's cracked up to be. Then we're going to jump into this new frontier, REMS technology, what it is, how it works, and what this game-changing fragility score is all about. We'll even walk you through a real report so you know exactly what you're looking at.
Okay, so for decades, we've heard that the DXA scan is the gold standard for checking our bones. But it turns out that gold standard, well, it has some pretty serious tarnish.
Which leads to a really important question you should be asking yourself. Could the very test that's supposed to give you answers actually be, well, misleading you? For a lot of people, the answer, unfortunately, is a big yes. This quote from Dr. Susan E. Brown just hits so hard. I mean, can you imagine that, being literally terrorized by a test result for over a decade, changing how you live, thinking you're incredibly fragile, only to find out your bones were fine the whole time? That's not just a small correction. That is absolutely life-changing. So where does DXA go wrong? Well, for starters, a huge percentage of these scans, some studies say up to 90%, have some kind of error. On top of that, really common things like osteoarthritis can mess up the reading, making your bones look stronger than they actually are. But here's the biggest issue. DXA only measures bone density. That's the quantity. It tells you nothing about bone quality, the structure, the architecture inside, which is a massive part of what actually makes a bone strong. Oh, and yeah, it uses X-rays. So if DXA is only giving us part of the story, what's the alternative? Well, this is where it gets exciting. We're now looking at a new frontier called REMS, and it gives us a radiation-free, way more complete look at true bone strength. So REMS stands for Radio Frequency Echographic Multispectrometry. I know, that is a total mouthful, but here's all you need to remember. It's based on ultrasound. No X-rays. It uses sound waves to look at not just the density, but also that crucial missing piece of the puzzle, the bone's quality and its internal structure. And when you put them side by side, the difference is, well, it's night and day. DXA is X-rays, density only, involves radiation, and can get tricked by things like arthritis. REMS, on the other hand, is ultrasound, measures density plus quality, is totally radiation-free, and it's smart enough to work around most of those issues that fool a DXA scan. Okay, so how in the world does this technology see inside your bones without any radiation? The science behind it is pretty mind-blowing, but the concept, well, we can explain it with a couple of really simple and kind of cool analogies. Orthopedic surgeon Dr. Andy Bush has this perfect way of explaining it. He says to think of a DXA scan like shining a flashlight at a wall. All it tells you is how much light is being blocked. But REMS is like shouting into a canyon. The magic isn't in the shout itself, it's in the incredibly detailed echo that comes back. That echo tells you about the canyon's shape, its texture, everything. In the exact same way REMS analyzes the sound waves that bounce back from your bone, giving this amazing picture of what's going on inside. It's literally seeing with sound. And this incredible ability to analyze bone quality leads us to the single most important number that REMS gives us, a number that finally measures what we all actually care about, our real risk of a fracture. Because true bone strength isn't just one thing. It's this complex recipe of density, yes, but also the internal scaffolding, the microarchitecture. That's what gives a bone its toughness, its resilience. That's what we mean when we say bone quality. And that is exactly what the fragility score measures. It's a special number you only get with REMS that actually assesses your bone quality. And it does this by comparing the unique sound echo from your bone to these massive databases of echoes from people who have had a fracture and people who haven't. Here's probably the best way to picture it. Imagine the REMS scan creates this detailed 3D map of your bone. Think of it like a virtual loaf of bread. The AI software then digitally slices that loaf hundreds of times, and for each and every slice it asks, does this look more like the bone of someone who broke a bone or someone who didn't? Your final fragility score is simply the percentage of your slices that look like the fragile ones. Simple as that. So this is the most important thing to remember. With the fragility score, a lower number is better.
It means your bone structure looks less like the bones of people who fractured. Now, on your actual report, you might see something called a bone strength score, or BSS. Just know that's the inverse. For the bone strength score, higher is better. They're basically two sides of the same coin, both telling you how strong your bone's internal structure really is. Okay, so now that we've got the science down, let's get to the good stuff. What does the report actually look like? This is how all that amazing technology turns into information you can actually use. So this is the summary page you'll see first. Over on the left, you'll see a graph for your bone mineral density, which will look pretty familiar if you've seen a DXA report. But the brand new, game-changing information is right there below it, inside that box, your fragility score. Then, the next page is all about that fragility score. It takes your number and plots it as a single dot on this color-coded chart. This shows you, at a glance, exactly where your bone quality stacks up compared to other people your age. And the colors make it super intuitive. If your dot is in the green zone, it means your bone's internal structure is looking good. That's low risk. If it's in the yellow, that's medium risk. And if it lands in the red zone, it means your bone's architecture looks more like those who have fractured, so a higher risk. So when you put it all together, what's the big takeaway here? Well, it's that REMS technology is finally giving us a much clearer and more complete picture of our bone health. This chart really says it all. With REMS, you get the whole story. You've got zero radiation, you're measuring both density and quality, the results aren't thrown off by those common artifacts, and on top of all that, it's shown to be incredibly precise, meaning the measurements are really consistent and reliable. And that precision, that's a total game changer. It means REMS is sensitive enough to actually see real changes in your bones in as little as 1 or 2 years. For the first time ever, you and your doctor can see clearly if your diet, your exercise, your whole health plan is actually working to make your bones stronger. So by moving past just a single number for density and looking at the whole picture, density plus quality, we can finally stop guessing and start knowing. REMS gives us the clarity to understand our real fracture risk and to do something about it, which really just leaves one final question for you. Now that you know a clearer picture of your bone health is possible, what's your plan?